morning to you, Doc. Thank you for coming in. Solim Simanga and Musi Maimane, just in the interviews we've had today, talk quite a good game. But are you expecting anything new, anything exciting from this manifesto come 1 o'clock today?
Well, I've had a brief look through the manifesto, and to be honest, I think it's one of the best ones that they've produced since '94. But there's still things that are always going to be tricky for the DA to convert into messaging, because the average voter isn't going to sit and look at an 84-page election manifesto. So what they're really doing is they've broken up their message into 5 key areas, which is fair access to jobs, fight corruption, honest professional police, secure our borders, and better services for all. So those are the 5 key areas that they are focusing on.
And let's talk about securing the borders, because that's a somewhat controversial one. I think a lot of people, when it was first mentioned late last year, were taken by surprise. How big an election point do you expect that to be? And how would the DA go ahead with that if they were to win Gauteng, for example, without drawing criticism for being xenophobic, as we've seen happen with Mayor Herman Mashaba in Johannesburg?
Well, when you're saying secure our borders, you sound like Trump, to be honest. And it wouldn't have been one of the key messages that I went with. If you read the manifesto, it's far more detailed, and it's explaining the importance of social cohesion and managing the borders correctly. So it's slightly different than the xenophobic tint that comes with saying secure our borders. But unfortunately, not everyone's going to read the manifesto, and you're just going to get secure our borders, which sounds very conservative and very Trump-like.
This is an election where a lot of people say is going to be won on positions on the basics: land, education, health, and jobs. How does the DA differ from the mainstream views? I mean, we know, for example, on land, they don't agree with the amendment of Section 25 of the Constitution to expropriate without compensation. That position has gained the ANC and EFF a lot of popularity. Do you expect it'll cost the DA at the ballot?
I honestly can't say, because they aren't messaging on land at the moment. Which
Should
might,
they?
They've got a very difficult message to get across in comparison to the ANC and the EFF. The ANC and EFF have the populist vote on that. The DA has always struggled with getting their message across on land, employment equity, and BEE. And I think that's their problem. It's also not one of their 5 key messages. So they're not focusing their discussion on land, which might be a problem, but might not, because they can't convince voters on their land position.
Internally, the DA has had, a rough 24 months or so, from the Patricia de Lille saga to the crisis in Nelson Mandela Bay. We know the coalition in Tshwane has also faced quite a fair bit of trouble. We know the Glad Africa contract, for example, continues to haunt the party's now Gauteng Premier candidate, Solim Simanga. When you look at the DA's handling of the various crises over the years, do you think they were caught napping, if you will, and that they've been exposed as a party that doesn't do well with crisis management? And what would that mean for the ambitions of a democratic alliance that wants to govern an entire party if, at provincial level, they do so badly at managing crises?
So that wasn't at provincial level. That was all in their metros, really. But they really struggled to control the message and control the narrative in each one of those crises. So from Patricia de Lille to Nelson Mandela Bay, and Tshwane as well. We're not seeing them put out their message as strong as the other parties. So I think that's been a clear example that they haven't been good at crisis management over the last 2 years. Patricia de Lille wiped the floor with them on that issue. And they never, ever controlled that narrative, even though they might have been correct in their allegations against Patricia de Lille. We don't know. But Patricia de Lille contained that message.
Elections, manifestos. The ANC has launched theirs in January. The EFF earlier this month launched theirs. Now we're watching the DA. All 3 major parties will have launched their manifestos by the first week of March. Are elections won on policy or personality in South Africa?
Personality.
Does Musi Maimane have the personality then to win the DA more power, more support?
That's a very tricky question, because it depends on the voter. It's when you are up against Cyril Ramaphosa and Julius Malema, and then you've got Musi Maimane, who comes with a certain label around his party, it's really, really difficult for him.
Is Maimane the weaker of the three? Ramaphosa, Malema, and him. Is Maimane the weaker of those three?
I would say so.
How does he beef up then?
He needs to beef up through his party. There are days where he has a very strong message. There are days where he's not as strong as Malema, but Malema is a populist leader. He's going to have the politics of spectacle, where he captures the imagination of certain voters. He captures media attention in a way which Maimane doesn't do.
Dr. Alex Lizagang, so much to talk about, and I'm sure we'll have you back on as we make our way towards Election Day on May 8th. But for now, thank you for your time.
Thank you.